All right, in today's video, I'm going to be going over my $100 million plan. Now, I've been thinking about what I want to be doing with e-commerce, with my agency, Profitable Pineapple. You can visit us at profitablepineapple.com. And I've been thinking about where do I want my next 10 years to look like? What do I want my next 10 years to look like? And with a partner of mine, we bought our first brand last year, and our plan is to create a $100 million business before I turn the age of 50. Now, for those that don't know, I'm 40 years old right now, so that's 10 years in the future. For those that don't know me, and this is their first time seeing me, I'm Dr. Travis Ziegler. I built a company up to about $500,000 a month on Amazon and Shopify. I ended up getting on the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies. You can see that right there. And then I got a bunch of proposals to buy me. And so we ended up selling for a multi-million-dollar exit back in 2021. And I started an agency called Profitable Pineapple Ads in the meantime in 2018. And I've been building that for the last 7 years as well. We built that all the way up to 80 clients, a team of 20. And I realized that just wasn't for me. And so we scaled it back down to now we only service 20 clients and we have a team of 5, which is great. It's perfect. And now what I'm trying to do is figure out what's the next 10 years look like? And my agency is a big part of it, but it's also how am I going to get to 100 million? It's not going to be through an agency, I'll tell you that, because growing an agency is like having a bunch of individual bosses. Each of your clients is a boss essentially. And so I want to start acquiring brands, and we acquired our first brand last year. It's called Dr. Barry's Eclectic Remedies. You can go to drbarrysremedies.com to check that out. And the first year we had that brand, we launched it kind of in July. It was a 30-year-old company, but it was kind of on a downhill swing. It was doing about 100,000 per year, maybe doing about 70,000 per year, maybe somewhere around there in revenue. And they were out of stock of their best sellers when we bought them. So we didn't get back in stock till July. From July until the end of December, we did about 125,000 in top line revenue. This year, we should do anywhere between 250 and 400,000, depending on how things go. If we have a drama-free year, which in supplements, it's never a drama-free year. So how am I going to go from 300,000 in top line to 100 million in enterprise value or valuation, or selling for 100 million? And that's what I want to go through in this video. And it's not as crazy and far out there as you think. And I know a lot of you watching this, you may be just getting started. And so whatever size you're at, let me know down in the comments. Let me know if you're just getting started or if you have a 7-figure company, a 6-figure company, 6-figure being $100,000 or more, 7-figure being $1 million or more, and then 8-figure, 10 million or more, and so on. And if you have a 9-figure company, kudos to you. I applaud you, because that's what I'm aspiring to be. So how do we do it? It's easy. It's simple. It's not easy. It's incredibly simple. And that's what I'm going to lay out today. So the first thing I want to talk about is you have to have core values in place, whether it be your life, your business, both. My core values are my lifetime values. They're my life values. They're my business values. It's how I treat people. It's how I want people to treat other people in our agency. And if you don't follow these core values in our agency or as a client or as a business that we're trying to serve or buy, then you're automatically eliminated. So you have to have that core value set. And ours is pretty simple. It's pineapple, profitable pineapple, pine, PINE, people over profit, integrity first, partnership mindset, never yourself before others, excellence in everything we do, and then quality over quantity. That is what we're thinking. So that is our core value. And our mission is to build wealth, to create a social impact. If you don't know this, I do mission trips every year, sometimes 2 a year, sometimes 3 a year. We've done about 17 mission trips in total for eye care exams. We've done about 40,000 eye exams, given away over 30,000 glasses, performed thousands of surgeries, both cataract, glaucoma, and diabetic surgery in third world countries that can neither afford it. That's our social impact. That's our why, our deep, deep why. We want to create more sustainability in the Caribbean around eye care. And wealth gets you there. And so how can I create sustainability in the Caribbean? Well, I have to build a super big company, like $100 million company. So we have our mission, we have our core values. Because if you don't have a bigger, deeper why, then you're never going to build a $100 million company. Because if you're just doing it for the money, you don't need to build a $100 million company. If you're just doing this for the money, you need to build a company that you can sell for $5 million, which is about, I would say, anywhere between a $1 and a $1.5 million EBITDA company. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. You don't need more. You don't need less. 5 to 10 million will set you free to do whatever you want to do. And if you've never done a dream financial calculator, it's Tony Robbins has a dream financial calculator. I highly recommend doing that because then you'll really have clarity around what you really need. And I don't need $100 million. I need anywhere between like 12 and 15 million. And that 12 and 15 million, if it's paying me 7 to 10%, that's going to be 1.2 million a year. I can do a lot with 1.2 million a year. And I don't mean just spend it on myself. I mean create that social impact, donating probably $50,000 to $70,000 per month to charity. So what is your deeper why? And what are the values that are going to help you get there? That will bring the people beside you that you want. It will bring you A players, because if you don't have a why and you're just doing it for money, you're not going to get A players to come alongside you. They're not going to come alongside you just to get you rich. It's just not purposeful. So my why is the eye care exams, and everybody on my team is invited, and I pay for them to come on mission trips with me. And a lot of my team members have taken me up on that, and they're hooked for life. They're going to come every single year for the rest of their lives, because you're going down there to impact others, to give them eye exams, to give them glasses. But the fact is, you actually become more impacted as a result. Now, I know you guys are like, oh, okay, I didn't want another video on why and core values, but and honestly, like that's what it's all about. If you don't have that, then you're not going to succeed in building $100 million business. And the third thing I want to talk about is, what are you working on a day-to-day basis? What got you here will not get you there. And so I built a multi-million-dollar business on hard work, strategies, tactics, hacks. It's a lot of work, but I was doing a lot of the work. And you can't focus on just doing the work. You have to focus on working on your business. You've heard this over and over again, I'm sure, but you have to work on your business and on your mindset and leadership, because you need to lead the people that are managing the work. So there's a couple tiers to a business, and there's the workers, the technicians, the people that are actually doing the work. And then above them are the managers, the people that are managing the technicians. And then above the managers are the leaders. The leaders are the ones taking care of setting the goals for the managers, who are setting the goals for the technicians, or watching the technicians, I should say. And then above that is where you should be. You should be talking to your leadership team every day, who is taking care of the managers, and the managers are taking care of the technicians. That's how you got to think to level up your mindset. And that requires you to work on yourself. Business is 90% up here. It's what's between your ears and your mindset. It is not the tactics. It is not the hacks. It is not the strategies. It is your mindset. Your mindset controls how far you go. And whatever you're getting right now in business is exactly where your mind is. It's how far have you worked on your mind? I wake up every single day and I read two things. I read the Bible, because it's an old book that has a lot of wisdom in it, especially King Solomon. He was one of the wealthiest, wisest men alive. And why not study somebody like that? And then the second books I study are about 100 years old. And so it's like Napoleon Hill and that whole generation. And if you have never followed Secrets of Success, it's a program where you pay $99 a month and you get access to all these old audiobooks from that generation. So Napoleon Hill, L.C. Lincoln Benedict. There's a lot of other ones that I can't, Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, all of those deep thinkers that are older, because the principles that held true in King Solomon's time, 6,000 years ago, held true 100 years ago and hold true today, because it's mindset. It's all about what's up here. And then I've even started getting into like Jim Rohn and John Maxwell lately, and they're about 30 to 40 years old, but they still apply today because some of them are still talking today. And so Tony Robbins is probably the most modern day example of it. But you have to focus on your mindset. Now, let's get into the nitty gritty of like how we're going to do this. So the first thing you need to do after all the mindset stuff, core values and mission and why, is you have to think long term. Most people in this e-commerce space have a very short time horizon. I know this because I've worked with hundreds of clients in my agency, and I ask them what their goals are, and they're like 100% growth month over month. And it's like, what? No, that can happen, but it just doesn't happen. Our goal is to have 20 to 30% CAGR, which is compound annualized growth rate. We want 20 to 30% growth rate. And by the way, I learned a lot of these principles when I worked for private equity for 2 years. And then after I worked for private equity for 2 years, I saw a couple of lectures on growing to 100 million and more. By the way, private equity, we were a $100 million company, and we increased to about $300 million in about a 5-year span. And so I got to see exactly how they do that. And that's what I'm going over today. But I also saw it on a lecture, 2 lectures actually, at a conference I was at. And then I actually spent this whole week at a conference that was all about this. It was 3 days of how to get to $100 million or even $1 billion in enterprise value and being able to sell for that much. So that's where I'm getting these principles from. So first thing is you have to think long term. And like I said, e-commerce owners think short term. They want to build and sell as much as possible. And the reason they want it is because their why is all about money. That's it. That's the reason I want to do it. And because they're creating a brand that's maybe an opportunity, not a real brand. And so they're kind of scared. And so they want to build it and sell it as fast as possible. I was looking at a brand yesterday, and they started in January 2023. They scaled significantly. They caught a hot trend. And so I'm not going to buy them because the market's going to get saturated and their revenue is going to come down, even though they're projecting it to go up. It's just not going to happen. It's plain and simple. So think long term. What can you build for 10 to 20 years? And can you have that long-term time horizon? Because it helps you make better decisions. I don't make snapshot decisions anymore because I have a long-term plan. Does this benefit me in 10 to 20 years? That's what I'm thinking all the time. So I'll call that step 0. Step 1 is we're going to acquire companies instead of starting companies. And the reason this works so well is because when you acquire a brand, you're buying time and you're instantly like tripling the value of your business. Because when we buy a brand, we're looking for different superpowers that we may not have. So when we buy a brand, the owner might be burnt out, but they might be really good at Shopify. And we're really good at Amazon. And Deacon's very good at Shopify as well. But let's use a different example. So the person we're buying is great at TikTok. They've built up TikTok presence and TikTok shop. So we can buy them and acquire him, take off operations, take off sales and marketing so he can just focus on TikTok and he can bring it to all the other brands in our portfolio. So we acquire for both superpowers. Maybe they have a superpower in 3PL. Maybe they are a superpower in Instagram, YouTube, video sales letters, landing pages, Facebook ads, whatever it is, inventory. And so we're acqui-hiring, we're acquiring to hire, and then we're taking the mundane that he doesn't like to do or she doesn't like to do off their plate so they can focus on their unique ability. Getting an A player, putting them in their unique ability, so then we can accelerate all the other brands as well in the portfolio. So we're going to acquire them because we're also going to acquire EBITDA. So if we're doing $1 million in EBITDA this year or profit, then we can acquire somebody that's doing 300,000 in EBITDA, and now we have 1.3 million in EBITDA. But when you combine those two companies, we can now cross-market. So we can cross-market this brand with this brand, and then we can increase usually each brand by 10% just by cross-marketing them. And then on top of cross-marketing, you can consolidate. So this brand and this brand has 2 separate CPAs, 2 different attorneys, 2 different tax planners, 2 different everythings. Amazon account managers, Shopify account managers, and we can consolidate them. It may require laying off some people. It may not, because if they're a good employee, we can probably find another seat on the bus for them. But if they're not a good employee, we can let them go. And so you can consolidate costs, you can cross-market synergy, and we do this by starting with a platform company. And so our goal is to get to $1 million in EBITDA this year. So if you know a supplement company that's selling, or you are a supplement company that's selling, please reach out to me, comment down below, or just comment down below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Or I'll give you my email address and then you can email me. So we're looking for a platform company right now that has about $1 million in EBITDA. Because if we have $1 million in EBITDA this year and we grow 20 to 30%, I think it's like 34% year over year through acquisitions and through growth, we will hit around 10 to 12 million in EBITDA in 10 years. Now, here's the kicker. Valuations and multiples increase by a multiple when you get higher. So if you're at about 1 million in EBITDA and lower, you have about a 3x multiple. So $1 million company in earnings, not top line, but earnings, profit. If you have $1 million in EBITDA, you have a 3x multiple, meaning you could probably sell for 3 million. Now, if we have a $10 million company, With that increase in EBITDA, $10 million EBITDA company, we can now sell for a multiple of 10x. So therefore, that company is now worth $100 million versus the $1 million company that was only worth $3 million, had a 3x multiple. A $10 million company is worth a 10x multiple. And so that's $100 million. That's essentially the whole path we're trying to get to, is we're acquiring brands every single year and growing them until we get to year 10. We'll have 10 brands at $10 million in EBITDA to then go sell for $100 million. But here's the other kicker. We plan on making this so much fun that we don't want to sell. That's the goal. Because I can't do this alone. I can't do this by the hard work. I have to do this by leading a team. And what if I made it so fun that I'm not involved in the day-to-day, but just maybe on some board meetings or advisory meetings every single week with my leadership team, and then the company is growing without me? So think about that for a little bit. It's not about what you're doing. It's about who you're doing it with, and then they figure out what to do. So platform company for $1 million, starting today, growing 30% year over year, will equal about $10 million in EBITDA over the course of the next 10 years. However, we're going to be multiplying by buying a new brand every single year. Now, what's the stipulations to buy a brand? We want to buy brands that have a third of the EBITDA that we're at right now. So if we're at $1 million this year, next year we're going to buy a brand that's $333,000 in EBITDA, a third of $1 million. So then once we buy them, we'll be at 1.33 million EBITDA. But then we're still going to grow. So let's say at the end of next year, we're at 1.5 million EBITDA. Our next acquisition target will be a $500,000 company. So a third of that. I hope this is all making sense for you guys, because it's, once you have this like mindset unlock, it's amazing what like comes out of it. So, all right, to recap just everything we've gone over: core values, mission, why. You have to have those to attract the right people in, and it can't be money. It has to be something bigger than yourself. Think long-term, 10 years or longer. Make it so much fun that you don't want to sell it, but have a goal for an enterprise value of 100 million. So you can sell in 10 years if you want, but make it so much fun that you don't have to sell. And acquire companies instead of starting them, for cross-market collaboration, for consolidation of expenses, and then have that platform company to really launch off of. iLove would have been a great platform company, but I sold it in 2021, so I don't have it anymore. So we're looking for that platform company right now in that $500,000 to $1 million in EBITDA. All right, next step, stay in your lane. Don't buy a bunch of random companies. We are trying to acquire supplement companies that appeal to mostly postmenopausal females. However, we're open to other supplement companies, but we're trying to stay in the supplement realm. And by the way, we could acquire like a manufacturer and significantly decrease our COGS. So that's another way that we can just expand. That could be an acquisition maybe 5 years down the road to really increase our EBITDA, because we could take our COGS from $5 a bottle to maybe $1 a bottle or something like that. Side rant. We're going to stay in our lane. We want to own as much as the customer's wallet as possible. So let's say we have this company over here that exclusively targets postmenopausal females, and then we find this skincare company over here that focuses on postmenopausal females. We could acquire them because we want to own as much as their wallet and then cross-promote them. The next step we're going to do is we're going to leverage seller financing and SBA loans and creative structures of loans or financing. So there's tons of ways you can finance. We had a whole day on it in this conference. So there's SBA loans, there's SBIC loans, sellers funding, cash. You can raise equity, you can get VC, angels, private equity. There's so much you can do. And so what we're trying to do is balance the two. So I'm going to get creative in my deals. Sellers financing is the number one way I can do that, but it puts a lot of risk on the seller versus the buyer. And so what you have to do is you have to balance, when you're making these deals, risk. So if the risk is going more towards the buyer side, me, you're going to get a lower multiple and a lower valuation as a result, because I'm taking on more risk. But if the seller takes on more risk by doing seller financing, for example, zero down, then your multiple is going to be higher as a result. And so I would rather go for no risk on my part, all risk on seller, and pay more for it. So it's all depending on your risk portfolio. However, if you don't want to risk anything and you want me to take the loan up front, maybe an SBA loan that's personally guaranteed by me, I'm going to lower the value of your company. You're going to get a lower multiple as a result. So let's say you're at $1 million and I have to go out and get an SBA loan. I may value you at 3x, maybe even 2.5x, because I have to personally guarantee that loan. And then if you do seller financing, I may go 4x. I may go from that $2.5 million to $4 million if you take the financing and the EBITDA supports it. That's the key. The EBITDA and the profit and the cash flow have to support the loan. You can't get a loan or you can't get financing that won't be supported by the profit number. So keep that in mind. And by the way, SBA loans, and if you're getting financing on the buyer side, they will not loan you if it doesn't make sense for them. They're going to do a profit, and they're going to do a qualitative financial analysis study where they're going to look at the bank statements, the credit card statements to make sure your P&L says what it says. And that's like a $30,000 study. And so if it's a bigger thing, then you're going to see that. So yeah, SBA loans, leveraging seller financing, getting creative, doing both. Like I may do a down payment of 10% to the seller, and then they finance the rest. So we give a little cash up front to show them that we're serious, and then they finance the rest. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this, and you can get creative. So let me jump over to questions real quick. Sorry, it's over on my other screen. So Joey says, fire. Yep. I thought you guys would like this. This is fun. Creative strategy for Shopify. Yep, that's what I'm going over. So everything we're going over can apply to Amazon or to Shopify. So let's keep jumping in. All right. So the next step is focusing on high growth markets. So you have to focus on markets that are growing. And so a couple examples of this: keto. Keto is very popular back in the day. It used to be called Atkins. Now it's called keto. But keto is actually a downward trend. It is downward trending on Google. It is not going up. It is going way down. And so I see, it's so funny. Like the big brands are so far behind. They're finally coming out with like keto stuff. And it's like, guys, keto's kind of dying. But what's coming up? Carnivore. It's essentially the same thing. It's keto. I know there's difference. So health experts, freaks, whatever. I'm a doctor as well. Don't come at me in my channel because I know they're different, but they're essentially the same thing. Keto and carnivore and Atkins, all the same thing. Little nuances that are different. But carnivore is now hot. So make sure you have a high growth market. A high growth market. It needs to be growing at least 10% year over year. The next step is optimizing for profitability and cash flow. You have to know your numbers. And there's certain numbers that you need to get comfortable with. One being average order value. Know the average order value of your current company, the one you're buying, and so you can try to increase that as much as possible. You need to increase your average order value. So supplements, 1-pack, 3-pack, 6-pack. It's as simple as that. And then when you go to an upsell, like on a Shopify store, whatever they just bought, sell them more of it at a discount. So they just bought a 1-pack, you upsell them after checkout to a 3-pack or a 6-pack with a huge discount. So I like to do buy 2, get 1 free, or buy 4, get 2 free. One of those two. Because then that's going to increase your lifetime value. Lifetime value increases with retention. You're just trying to get people back in the door. And therefore, when you have a higher lifetime value and a higher average order value, you can spend more to acquire a customer. So you have to know your customer acquisition cost. You have to know your average order value, and you have to know your lifetime value. Because when you can spend more, because you know your lifetime value in 90 days is going to be 10x your average order value, not 10x, probably like 2 to 3x your average order value, you can spend more to acquire a customer and even lose on the front end because of that. And that's why I love consumables and supplement companies, because we can spend more to acquire a customer. And by the way, like this all goes back to serving the person. Don't just sell supplements that are cheap from China to make money. Source high quality products sourced in the US or whatever the best country is for whatever supplement you're selling, and take care of the person. Because when you take care of the person, everything else takes care of itself. And then subscriptions are huge in this space. You need to do subscribe and save on Amazon. You need to do subscriptions on Shopify. There's just so much you can do with subscriptions because it's just recurring revenue coming in over and over and over again. It's about creating sustainability. And when you have subscriptions, it's amazing what MRR can do, monthly recurring revenue, that you know is coming in over and over and over again. It allows you to expand. It increases your average order value. increases your lifetime value and decreases your cost to acquire a customer. All right. Got a couple more for you guys. Are you guys enjoying this? Let me know. Give me a thumbs up in the video. Let me know any comment, any questions that you have. Let's see what we have. So we got a couple over here. Inquest says carnivore electrolytes. I don't know what that means, but sure. Joey says, yeah, I jumped into the ramen toppings niche. It's new and growing, but I'm quickly trying to create new and different products because the competition is jumping in so quickly. That goes back to just creating a brand. And so if that's what you're into, create a brand around it any way possible. It sounds like you saw it as an opportunity, you went after it, and now that competition is moving in, you're kind of panicking. And so now you're trying to figure out what else to come out with. When you create a brand, it does not matter. Look at Bulletproof Coffee, for example. They have created a brand. They're a little more expensive. They're not so much expensive anymore, but they were a lot more expensive than their competitors. And they didn't care because they created a brand, and they're a $100 million brand as a result. All right. As someone who's never done consumables, best way to find good suppliers for supplements, the US has a lot of great suppliers. So you want to find ones that's CGMP certified. You want to build a brand first, though. Like, you want to build a list of hungry buyers, and you got to create that hunger before you just come out with supplements. So I need to focus on branding. Joey says, yep, you're right. Cool. Yeah, keep the comments coming. Keep them coming. So, all right. The next thing I want to talk about is you need to double down on what works. My mindset coach, Justice, he's also my operator in my agency at profitablepineapple.com. He always tells me that one of my superpowers is I bring order to chaos. And when I see a business, I see it, how chaotic it is. I bring order to that. And the only reason I do that is because I've created the chaotic business, and I've had to bring it back from that chaos. So I've created the chaos, and now I've learned from that in the last 10 years of entrepreneurship. And you need to double down on what's working. It's all I do. I look at the business. I look at all the products. I look at everything they're doing: Facebook ads, Google ads, Amazon PPC, Shopify, Amazon, International, Canada, Mexico. And I just find the 20% that's driving the 80% of revenue. The 20% that's driving the 80%. 20% of products, 20% of search terms, 20% of advertising platforms are creating 80% of the revenue. And so all I do is I eliminate everything else except for those. And that usually creates order, number one, a reduction in staff, team, because you're eliminating expenses, a reduction in advertising costs, a reduction in your total cost of advertising, your tacos, and it significantly increases your profit. But here's the kicker: your revenue is usually not affected, and your profit goes sky high. How do I know this? Because in 2019, I had $0 in profit, and I did $3.2 million in revenue. $0 in profit. I 80-20. It was a very chaotic year. I was in Amazon US, Canada, Mexico, UK, Germany, Italy, France, Spain, Shopify, ClickFunnels. I had 10 different channels I was selling on, and I consolidated it all back down to Amazon US. We still had our Shopify store because of website, but we went all the way in on Amazon US. And what did that do? We went from 3.2 million with zero profit to 4 million with $600,000 in EBITDA, in profit. I use those terms interchangeably. They are not interchangeable terms, but I'm just trying to, it's close enough for the purpose of this video that I'm using them interchangeably. So let me say that again: 3.2 million, $0 in profit. I actually had 20,000 in profit, but it's just not that much. 3.2 million, $0 in profit to 4 million and $600,000 in profit from doubling down on what's working. That means avoiding shiny objects, because that is the biggest problem with entrepreneurs, is they go after the next shiny objects because they think that's what's going to set their business free. When if they just stuck with what they were doing, then that would have set them free. Now, I want to show you this graph from Alex Ramosi. I'm going to share my screen real quick just because it's so good. And let me make it a little bigger, and then we will share it. All right. It's the emotional cycle of change is what he calls it. And it's pretty much shiny object syndrome in a nutshell. And so, yep, you guys can see that. So this uninformed optimism is shiny object syndrome. It's, oh my gosh, that hack is going to work. There's hacks all the time for Amazon businesses, for Shopify businesses, and it's absolutely ridiculous because it's just a shiny object. And guess what? You fall for it. You think, oh man, that's what's going to set my business free. So you buy whatever they're selling, you then go through it, and then you move into informed pessimism because you realize that even though it seemed so promising, now that you're in it, you realize it's a lot of work because everything's a lot of work in all businesses. There is no hack. There is no hack to shortcut. You have to play the long-term game. Going back to one of my first points. And then after you kind of went through it and you're like, oh man, this is going to be a lot of work. I don't know if I want to do this anymore. You fall into the valley of despair. And that's when you start looking for the next shiny object to move back up to uninformed optimism. Does this sound familiar? Shiny object syndrome. So then what really would happen is if you would have just sat in the valley of despair and kept doing whatever you were learning, you would have eventually gone back up to informed optimism, meaning it started to work. Maybe not success yet, but it's starting to show progress. I have this all the time in my coaching, my perpetual sales machine coaching. You can apply to work with me at profitablepineapple.com. And that's if you're doing $100,000 or more per year in revenue. And people come in because they're like, yeah, that's exactly what I need to do. And then they do all the training and they're like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this. But they start doing it and it doesn't work. But that's okay because I tell them it's not going to work right away because you got to get your messaging right. Messaging. And then they fall into the valley of despair and then they leave. I see it all the time. Usually happens around month 1.5. However, the people that have stuck with it, they start to see slow momentum. They're kind of coming right here, and then they're coming up here, and then they're coming up here. And then I just got 2 testimonials in a row from 2 people in the program that are about 4 months in. And they're like, holy cow, this is working. Informed optimism. Like they're not like, they didn't go from 100,000 to 1 million, but they went from like 100,000 and they're growing like 5 to 10 to 20% month over month because it's working. The perpetual sales machine works. Now they're like, it does work. Let's double down on it. And then eventually at month 5 or 6, they find success. And then I don't hear from them again. And they continue in the program, but they don't show up at the coaching calls because it's just working. And occasionally they'll send a question here or there, but that's about it. But that's what you have to realize whenever you sign up for anything else, you're saying no to whatever you're doing right now. So is my strategy the only strategy? Absolutely not. But it's a long-term strategy that's going to build a brand for you. It's going to build emails for you. It's going to build a perpetual sales machine of external traffic over to Amazon or Shopify, whatever you want to take it to. And the basic premise is we build a blog. We send Google ads to that blog around the problem that your product solves. And then that blog sells over on Amazon or sells over on Shopify. It's that simple. That is the perpetual sales machine in a nutshell. Again, apply to work with us at profitablepineapple.com. There's my commercial. But it doesn't work right away. And I tell people that you're going to come out with 20 different landing pages, blogs. 1, maybe 2 is going to work. Maybe, if you get the messaging right. So you got to figure out the messaging. But the first thing you got to figure out is traffic. We got to get traffic over to the blog first. Once we get traffic, then we got to figure out the messaging to make sure we can go from blog to sale. Once we get that done, then we just turn it up. That's it. And then we try to do another one. So it's all about messaging. So that's my perpetual sales machine program. It's no different than every other shiny object syndrome. It's no different than any other shiny object, other than the fact that if you put the time in, it will work, but it takes time. Any strategy takes time. So stick with whatever strategy you're going to go with. If it's me, come follow me. Join me. Go apply at profitablepineapple.com. If it's not me and it's somebody else, that's okay too. One strategy until successful. So if you really want to be successful, one product, one sales channel, one strategy until you hit $1 million. One product, one strategy, one sales channel until you hit $1 million. Whether that strategy be Facebook ads, Amazon PPC, Google ads, whatever it is, my PSM, my perpetual sales machine, whatever it is, one product, one strategy, one sales channel until you hit $1 million. That's as simple as it can be. Don't overcomplicate it. Okay, I am on a rant. Let's go back to questions over here. Let's see. I need to focus on branding similar to the book. Yep, exactly. Cool. All right, let's go on to step, I think number 8. I don't know if my numbers are correct, so correct me if I'm wrong. All right. Step 8 is executing a roll up for exit year. So we're chugging along. We're in like year 8, and we're at 10 million in EBITDA. Let's just say we hit it early. So now we can sell for 100 million. Here's where it gets fun. So I told you guys earlier in the video about how if you have $1 million company and they're worth about 3x multiple, then they're going to sell to me for $3 million. So I can then go buy that company, buy it at a 3x multiple, and then flip it around on the exit year and sell it for 10x. So I bought it for 3 million and then I sold it for 10 million. So I automatically just created $7 million just by buying it in the year that I was selling. So that's the cool part about this strategy, is on the exit year, we're going to find a way to buy some smaller companies to take them from a 3x multiple to a 10x multiple just by putting them into my roll-up that is at 10 million in EBITDA, to then increase the multiple by doing absolutely nothing. I hope that makes sense. All right, so that's all I got for you today. If you're ready to grow and exit your brand, let's talk. Submit your brand down below at profitablepineapple.com. There's a work with us. If you're interested in selling, do the same thing. Profitablepineapple.com, work with us. There's an application that you fill out. It's really short, and you'll just tell us a little bit more about your brand and how big it is. And that's either to work with us on the coaching side, the agency side, where we actually run your ads for us. I think we have room for 1 or 2 more brands right now, maybe 3. And then if you are interested in acquisition, if you're interested in us buying your brand, please put that in the application as well at profitablepineapple.com. You can see it right there. And then if you're an investor, yeah, talk to me as well. I'd love to talk to you. And then make sure you subscribe to follow me to learn a little bit more about what we're doing. We have a podcast called We Bought a Brand, Now What? So go look for that at any place you listen to podcasts. And then you can subscribe to whatever channel you're watching this on right now. So, all right. This is our passion project. This is our magnum opus, if you will. This is our kind of like big legacy we want to leave, because it's going to lead to our greater why, which is giving eye exams in third world countries. So if you enjoyed this content, let me know if you want me to come out with more content like this. This was live, so I was just kind of rambling and just kind of going off the cuff, but would love to hear your feedback. So again, let me know if you guys have any other questions. Love all the comments. Thank you for putting those in, and then we will talk soon. See you guys.